The views and opinions expressed on the Hard Time Podcast are of the hosts and guests individually. The Hard Time Podcast is for entertainment purposes only and is not affiliated with any entity, agency, or department. Human beings have thoughts and feelings that do not necessarily affect the professional performance of their duties.
So they always want to try, but we've got to be proactive.
Officers being praised for their quick actions.
Got to still remain professional and do a job.
County Sheriff says, quote, they are heroes in my book.
Regular day at the office.
Motherfucker welder. Well, I would say another week's gone by, but I'm batch recording these, so not a whole lot has transpired. I did make the mistake as your host. I'm Jake Motherfucker Welder. Should introduce myself for those, just in case you're new here. Although I know you're probably my faithful fans. A sergeant at a local jail in the American Southwest. Just try to add a little bit of local flavor to our show here. Just give some authenticity to the show. This show is about jail shit. We talk about a lot of different stuff. We talked about doppelgangers, the wrongly prosecuted and wrongly accused, not Leslie Nielsen, but in this case, a Kansas City man who went to jail for his doppelganger for a large portion of his life. We talked about that last week. We talked about death penalty and stuff, how that is that correct, and we talked about vengeance in the last couple of weeks here on the Hard Time Podcast. So this week we're going across the pond. We're going to talk about a case and a prison that's in France. So we're going to see how the French do it. Going to go over an interesting case. And then get into a little bit about history of the prison. I wasn't able to find a ton on the case. It was very interesting to me, but I was like just doing a bunch of research, trying to find details. A lot of the articles and stuff were in French, so I had to have Google translate them for me because I don't probably do Francais. So looking up articles and stuff on it, trying to get details are kind of very scant. So bear with me, trying to see if I can make a whole episode out of it because it was something that interested me. So we'll see how it goes. But appreciate you guys bearing with me. Back in my studio this week. So it's just me again. So the French Laundry, I hope you guys appreciate my cultured references here, the French Laundry and the French Connection. So we're getting into both the culinary as well as the movies. So trying to get into film, classic films, as well as the culinary references this week. So no, John, you just have to put up with me this week. So you get what you get. This is what your couple dollars a month buys, is the Jake experience. So we'll get into a bizarre escape that happened in France. This happened at a liberation that took place. And this took place, I believe you pronounce it Lion Corbus or Lion Corbus, who's you would say in American, in France. This took place back on July 15th. Quite a few different articles on this. Each article just has a little bit of different details on it, so I'll slowly go through. There'll be a bunch of little jump cuts and stuff in this episode, so I apologize for that, kind of like the last episode, because I'll be like kind of searching for through these articles to try to find like the little details that are different. So this is from the Jerusalem Post. Inmate escapes French prison by hiding in cellmate's bag. So according to the prison administration, he took advantage of the liberation of his fellow inmate to hide himself in his luggage and get out. Why you would not be inspecting the luggage, or why you would not be like paying attention to the inmate that is leaving the cellmate, the items, and watching and inspecting closely the items that they're getting out, I don't know. I don't understand why you would not be paying close attention to that. That seems to be a fairly large lax in your security. So we'll get into that story. I guess what's been going on while I haven't been at work, I guess we've had a lot of issues with inmates getting along and stuff, and I guess they had a fairly large brawl while I wasn't there. So a large incident that took place. So they're having to do like tier time, lock down a large unit that's fairly full, and do like tier time at different like staggered times and stuff for them. It's a fairly large incident that I wasn't involved in. So that's the drama that I thankfully missed on days off. It was kind of stirring before I left. I was kind of made aware of the tension that was building in the unit. I did pass that on. I gave, passed on what I knew, what was going on and stuff ahead of time, the intelligence that we gathered up to that point. But yeah, feel for those people that were on duty. Hopefully nobody got hurt. I haven't been back to see what happened. I don't know. Hopefully all the staff and stuff is okay. We'll have to see what the result was when I get back. So happened over the weekend while I was gone. So little bit of inmate drama spilling over. It's never good. Not a good thing to deal with. I feel for the officers that were there on duty dealing with it. It's one of those things. It's like you wish you could be there to help, but again, thankful that you're not there, because there's always the potential for injury and stuff. You don't want to be involved for that sake, and you don't want to be there to do all the paperwork. Sounds like it was probably quite a mess for the supervisors and everyone to deal with. So certainly feel for everybody that dealt with that, without getting into too many details, because don't want to get into too many details on the show. So, and I don't have many. That's about all I have, is that there was a large incident, and big throwdown in the Southwest, big mess to deal with. So let's get into this article from the Jerusalem Post. This is world news. It does not give credit to any author again. So just as Jerusalem Post staff. So, an inmate escaped from Lyon Corba prison in France by hiding inside of a suitcase of his cellmate, French news outlet PMF TV reported on Saturday. The 20-year-old is serving multiple sentences and also part of a judicial investigation linked to organized crime, BMF TV said. According to the prison administration, he took advantage of the liberation of his fellow inmate to hide himself in his luggage and get out. Following the escape, the prison administration confirmed that an internal investigation is being launched. The prisoner was later found and arrested on Monday morning in the Saint-Denis camp near Lyon. Lyon's prosecutor told CNN. The man escaped from Corba Remand Center and was arrested this morning around 6 a.m. after leaving a cellar in Saint-Denis camp. The prosecutor's office said in a statement, as quoted by CNN, no one was injured. His accomplice was not with him and has not yet been arrested. The suspect is now in custody, facing charges of escape as part of an organized gang and involvement in a criminal conspiracy, the statement added. Some reasons that they believe contributed to this escape: the prison is severely overcrowded. Sebastian Caldwell, director of the France's prison administration, described the incident as an extremely rare event and said it's highlighted as a series of serious failures within the system, CNN reported. BMF TV reported that the prison is severely overcrowded with an occupancy rate of nearly 180% as of May 1st, 2025. The facility currently holds 1,218 inmates, although it only has 678 available spots. That makes working conditions of our officers more complicated, Caldwell told BMF TV regarding overcrowding. So that could certainly contribute to why they weren't closely monitoring. This is the luggage. Took advantage of the inmate's release. So the escapee cellmate was being released from prison, and the prisoner concealed himself in their laundry bag to free himself from confinement, according to The Nightly. This is another article. The man, who is still at large, was serving multiple sentences and also undergoing investigation for links to organized crime. This is an extremely rare event. We have never experienced this in the administration, which clearly reveals a whole series of serious dysfunctions, Mr. Caldwell said. Mr. Caldwell has requested an internal investigation and said the Minister of Justice has ordered an inspection by the General Inspectorate of Justice. So they always order an internal investigation, don't they? He said Corba prison has an occupancy rate of 170%, making things difficult for staff. So it says there was overcrowding. This follows reports that another French escapee, Mohamed Amra, known as the Fly, which sparked a manhunt before he was recaptured in Romania in February this year. Amra had been freed in a violent attack in which resulted in the deaths of 2 prison guards. So maybe we can look that up. Mohamed Amra, the Fly. Oh, I remember this one. Mohamed Amra, so this is CBS News, A fugitive French prisoner who prompted an international hunt after staging a deadly escape 9 months ago was arrested Saturday in Romania. The French government said 10 of his alleged accomplices have also been arrested. The French President Emmanuel Macron called the capture a formidable success and praised European colleagues who had pursued him. French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau thanked all forces who had permitted the arrest of Mohammed Amra in Romania today on X. The Romanian police said that Amra was arrested in an operation in the capital in Bucharest. 2 guards were killed when armed assailants helped Amra escape prison convoy in Normandy last May, prompting a high-profile search. Interpol raised a red notice in the request for France and the rest of Amra. So that's the one that happened at the border crossing when they were coming through a choke point. The vehicles came up to them and opened fire at the border crossing and then pulled them out. So pulled Amra out. So they were just coming through the gate, and the 2 guards were killed in that convoy. So Amra, 30, fled after being sentenced for burglary in the Normandy town of Evero. He was under investigation for an attempted organized homicide and kidnapping that resulted in death, prosecutors said. Paris prosecutor Laura Bacau said Amra had connections with Marseille's organized crime syndicates and was suspected of heading a drug trafficking network. Amra's first offenses occurred between the ages of 11 and 14, according to the prosecutor, nicknamed La Mouche, the Fly. Amra has also been referred to by other aliases such as Yanis, Momo, and Smurf. On Sunday, Paris chief prosecutor said police had also arrested 10 people suspected 10 suspected accomplices of Amra. Amra's escape and violent history made it a symbol of clashes faced by French law enforcement in combating organized crime and ensuring the security of high-risk prisoners. The brutality of the ambush, which was caught on CCTV, shocked France, and Amra instantly became the country's most wanted man. Authorities tasked more than 300 investigators with finding Amra, who has a long history of convictions for violent crimes that started when he was in his early teens. According to the 2024 Judiciary Report, he started out with aggravated robberies and progressively slid toward violence, eventually entering the world of organized crime. The report found that authorities underestimated for some time just how dangerous he had become. Amra is suspected of pursuing his drug-related activities from his prison cell and even ordering hits from detention. So we've covered that quite a bit on this show, how dangerous criminals can even be behind bars. Accomplices allegedly helped the fugitive to hide. Justice Minister Gerard Damanin on Sunday published an open letter to prison officers promising them better working conditions. He also vowed the creation of prison police units and high security prison in response to concerns that become too easy for convicted criminals to continue their businesses despite being locked up, thanks notably to access to mobile phones. Such a supermax prison to be completed within months would keep France's 100 biggest drug traffickers in complete isolation, using Italian mafia laws as a model so that a case like Amra's can never happen again. At the time of his escape, Amra was facing one charge for attempted murder and another for participating in a gangland killing in southern city of Marseille, a hub for drug trafficking and gang violence. The Paris prosecutor said in a statement that 10 of his suspected accomplices had been detained on Saturday and early Sunday. Police source told AFP they were arrested for the most part in Rouen, Rouen and Evero in northwestern France, and that police seized weapons during the raids. They were suspected of having helped in preparation and execution of the escape and having helped the fugitive to hide. The prosecution said Romanian police said Amra was arrested near Bucharest shopping center and would be brought before a magistrate who will decide on his extradition to France. After being alerted by their French colleagues, it took Romanian police just 48 hours to locate, identify, and capture Amra, the government in Bucharest said. Amra, who rejects the charges against him, had agreed to be returned to France. Lawyer Mario Marceau said he respects the decision by the French authorities who want to put him on trial. Bacau said of Amra, who had changed his appearance and dyed his hair, had been identified through facial recognition tools and his fingerprints. Lawyer said for the families of the two agents killed in Amra's escape, they were relieved that he'd finally been apprehended. So another piece of shit that was involved in organized crime here in France. So, and sounds like the French are cracking down on organized crime. Sounds like they're trying to deal with the prison problem. They're trying to crack down on criminals that are using, doing their criminal enterprise in jail. So it's a good thing. So another article here that the Economics Times News brings up a couple other details here. Says that that the inmate was not discovered it was not discovered that he was missing until the following morning, giving the inmate, the fugitive, a critical head start. So they didn't know until the next morning's head count that he was missing. So you go to release an inmate and you're so busy that there's a double occupied cell. There's two people in it, which, sounds like you're at 80% occupancy. So you have some single occupancy cells and you have some double occupancy cells. You should know which ones are single occupancy and which are double occupancy. And you go to release a inmate in a double occupancy cell, and then all of a sudden the cell is empty, and you don't realize the cell is empty until the next day. That's a problem. I don't care how busy you are. That's a fucking problem. That's more than a small oversight. That's not just overcrowding. That's a serious lapse in judgment. Yeah, that's not good. They're not releasing the man's name here, which I was able to find out a little bit more about him. If I can get those translated articles, I'll get into that. He's also not just the organized crime. There's multiple investigations, multiple sentences that he had. He's under multiple investigations on top of the multiple sentences that he had. So he's serving the sentences. He's still under investigation for all this other stuff. And he's suspected of a double murder. So this is a bad guy. This is not just your run-of-the-mill inmate that you're letting out. This is a big damn deal. With the seriousness of the lapse and the organized crime connection, you got to wonder if somebody, may have possibly gotten paid off here. And, he basically got a long weekend out of jail, out of it, and then was rearrested. Again, was that something that was arranged? Was he, out for a period of time and then turned himself back in, or made himself available to be turned back in. Did he have something to do during that time period, something nefarious or something personal that he wanted to do? So he made arrangements for this. It would not surprise me. Pretty crazy. So, cellmate, they say, who was unaware of the plan, according to initial reports, completed his sentence and was processed for release when the escapee made his move. So, yeah, we'll get into some more details here of exactly how he did that, because again, it sounds baffling. He's in a laundry bag. Like, how do you get an entire human into a laundry bag, and how do you get it smuggled out without anybody noticing? Like, it reminds me of the scene in was it the scene in the Casino Heist movie? In Ocean's 11 with the little acrobat there, the little Oriental guy. Like, unless you're a little tiny dude like that, just putting yourself in a little bin, how do you get a full-size human? I mean, I don't think the French are known for being massive humans, but still, to liberate yourself, to smuggle yourself out in a laundry bag, seems like, how would somebody not know that a laundry bag contains a human and not just a few bags? Like, you can't tell me that this other inmate didn't know that wasn't his laundry, his dirty laundry or whatever. And, did he have his personal clothes and stuff in there? Like, come on. Like, this story smells. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay. So, again, laundry bag. We have very small, like, laundry nets that we use in the jail. You may have seen them if you've lived in a large city where you have like laundry service in your building, or maybe on a cruise ship or something like that where they have laundry service. You've seen like the little nets and stuff that they use. You can't smuggle a human in those things. They're semi-transparent. That's what we use. A large laundry bag, a sack or something that they could use. Like, how you wouldn't be able to see them, but again, like, how are you carrying an entire human out? Like, it doesn't make sense. So this DW.com by Rashni Ujamdar, it brings up the critical detail here about this escape. Says that according to La Parisienne newspaper, the man who was set to be released asked prison staff for a trolley to carry bags out of the prison to his car. So he asked for like a cart, a trolley, something to carry these things out. So that would make it a little bit more believable, a little bit more, if you've ever used like a cart at a hotel or something to carry things out, it's like you have this large laundry bag. Okay, you put it on a cart like that, like you'd use at a hotel. Maybe it's not polished brass, I imagine, but some kind of utility cart. That makes a little bit more sense. How you would understand that it's not. But again, how do you get the human in the bag onto the cart? Like, does this thing, does it like Austin Powers, like with the little feet itself up onto the cart and you don't notice? Like, give me a fucking break. How do you move something that large and heavy and not notice, like, oh shit, I forgot I had 180 pounds of fucking clothes. Like, no way. But it was a detail that was missing that makes it a little bit more believable, of how he was able to accomplish this. But still, and again, why are we making it easier for the inmate to transfer this much stuff? Why do they have so much stuff in their cells that they need a trolley to move stuff around? I don't know how long their sentence is and whatever, but I could see, like, you have a lot of stuff in a property area, possibly, but why do you have that much stuff in your cell? Like, you have to go through that stuff. However often they're doing cell checks and stuff, which is probably not very often if you're short-staffed. So if you're short-staffed, even more critical, why do you have that much shit in a fucking cell? You're just asking for problems. So is this a Goodfellas situation where they have a burner and they're making sauce and whatever the French, are they making a more delicate, French sauce and a roux or something, and a nice delicate fish sauce or whatever the fuck they're doing over there in France? I don't know, but it doesn't make sense. It's not good for safety and security. It shouldn't be happening. There's no excuse for something like this. That's why it sounds ridiculous, because it is ridiculous. It's crazy that a whole person could get smuggled out in a fucking bag. That's why when I read this initially, I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it, that was the means that somebody used to get out. And again, it kind of reminds me of the captain last week, that was responsible for the transport, and the transport team went to the wrong place. When you have an escape like this and it's this ridiculous, I can only imagine being the head of the prison and just being like, I can't believe I'm responsible for this shit. Like, I'm responsible for this ultimately. Like, this is fucking ridiculous. And then have it be in this many articles all over Europe. And then it's so famous that even some guy in the Southwest sitting in his office is fucking going on about it in his podcast. It's sharing it around the world. There's people in Canada and Australia listening to this podcast. I'm reaching at least 3 countries with the news of this fuck up. So it's just crazy to me. So let's keep getting into the details here of this case, see if we can find any more, and we'll consider a little bit more about this prison. Like we talked about with the fly there in France, they're trying to curb some of their problems with crime, and organized crime is a huge issue in France, and they're trying to curb that with their prisons. So we'll get into that a little bit more too. Okay. So here, I found an article in Le Monde. This is the inmate who escaped from the prison laundry bag with man release has been arrested in Lyon, near Lyon. This is so the man who was arrested in the laundry bag of the man who was released near Lyon, Eli Nazid A. 20, nicknamed Joker or Equalizer, is implicated in proceedings for murder or an organized gang and criminal association. He was subject to a detention warrant in a recent procedure related to a serious crime. So they actually identify him So it's Elyazid, first initial A. Elyazid, aka his moniker of the Joker or Equalizer. So they actually found an article that actually identifies the prisoner. So thought that was interesting. Yeah, it won't let me read more without subscribing, but I thought that was pretty cool that they actually identify the guy. So there's a couple other things we can go over. Why was this Leon Corba prison there? So here, there's an article in France 24. It says massive Lyon prison transfer goes smoothly. More than 400 detainees were transferred under intense surveillance from two decrepit prisons in the center of Lyon to an ultra-modern facility in the French city suburbs, the first transfer operation of its kind in Europe. More than 400 detainees were transferred from the decrepit 19th century prisons of Saint Joseph and Perrenche in the city of Lyon to a new prison, the facility in Corba, in the city's outskirts. The biggest such operation in France's history. The transfer was carried out under top security. Handcuffed in pairs, detainees left the St. Joseph's prison in groups, 15 to 20. The operation began at 4 a.m. on Saturday and lasted all through Sunday. 900 law enforcement officers were deployed to monitor the operation and prevent any prisoner escape, rebellion, or smuggling. By Sunday evening, the transfer had been completed with no incidents reported. The new ultra-modern Corba prison in the outskirts of Lyon can house some 690 detainees, or twice that number if you just shove them in there. Individual cells are equipped with showers and intercoms through which detainees can call for help. For the first time in Lyon, the accused will be kept apart from those already sentenced. It's a far cry from their former unit. Perrenche and Saint Joseph were two of France's oldest and most rundown detention centers, under heated criticism for their bad hygiene and security conditions. Despite this change for the better, Lyon prison guards will join their colleagues in a nationwide protest organized by 3 labor unions on Monday. Their call for more staff and better working conditions. So the Lyon prison was part of this modernizing. It was part of this them trying to take care of some of these problems, but it didn't take care of the problem of overcrowding, right? They were still overcrowded. They still were understaffed. It was a more modern facility. The plant is great, which usually we blame the plant when there's a escape, right? We say the physical plant is bad. But in this case, you just have too many people shoved into single cells. You have people probably sleeping on the floor, a boat put on the floor. It's just literally looks like a plastic John boat with a mattress in it, placed on the floor with another person sleeping there. So now you have this nice modern cell with these amenities, but you have, 2 or 3 people sleeping in there. So you're still going to have problems. Were all the issues taken care of at Lyon Corba? Okay, they had one escape, but does that mean, is that the end of the world? Was there anything else going on? Here we have a Listen Radio Scoop. This is a local French radio website. Lyon Corba, a man found dead in a cell. Yes, like John said many times, jail is a ticking time bomb. With enough time, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And Leon Corba, it went wrong. An inmate was found dead on Saturday in a cell where he was discovered with a wound to his throat. Aged in his 30s, the young man had psychiatric disorders, according to information gathered by AFP. Investigation is opened with the theory of suicide is favored. So, was he, was he being monitored? Did he commit suicide? Did somebody else kill him? Can we establish that? Is there any way to prove or disprove that? It's very hard to tell. Was he housed in one of these cells where there was 3, 4, 5 or more people or not? It's nearly impossible to tell. So this Leon Corba prison clearly has, it's a prison. It's going to have a lot of issues. You put a lot of problem people, you put some of society's worst, France's worst in there. You have a lot of problems with the people that you're putting in there. You have these organized crime types that you put in there. Overcrowding where staff is at best, overworked and underpaid. Like it sounds like in bad working conditions, you're going to have problems. If you, you have just the type of people that are there, you're going to have problems. And are these people, paying attention to the basics, the very basic things of count? How often are they doing count? It's disturbing to me that you have somebody escape in a laundry bag and it's not discovered till the next day. Why are you releasing somebody? Usually releases take place during the day. So why don't you have an evening count? You should be counting multiple times a day. Evening count would be extremely important. Did somebody count and miscount? Why would you go, I could see, again, double occupied cell. I could see how you could go by a cell and you could accidentally count 1 instead of 2. But how do you go by a cell and count 1 when there's nobody there? They didn't offer any excuse as to there was some sort of dummy or, any reason why somebody would think that the cell was occupied. You'd think they would give those types of details, some kind of explanation why they would be missing count. Was the laundry that he took out of the bag, was that put on a bed and made to look like a person? You'd think they would say that. That's why there was a miscount. But they don't come out and say anything. They don't come out and say anything about it. So yeah, the French are up to it. They got some fucking problems at Leon Corba. You have a modern prison, which is great, but if you don't have enough staff and you are just stacking it to the rafters, you're going to have problems. So it sounds like it's time to build another prison. Like System of a Down said, they're going to build a prison. So that's what they need to do. Sounds like they've been doing that. They just need to continue to do that. So they have some serious problems that they need to address. So I thought that was an interesting story. There were some pictures and stuff that I found along the way. I can't find those articles. I found the story quite a while ago. It was kind of a stretch for me to make it into a full episode. So appreciate you bearing with me. That was interesting, getting into The Fly a little bit more about the French organized crime. and the systemic problems that they're having with the prisons in France. So the French are up against it. So I feel for them. I feel for the French officers, but you got to be doing the basic stuff, such as count, pay attention, like the basics of your job are more important. The most important thing that you will do is your watches. Your watches are the most important thing that you do, no matter what, is your watch. You need to document that you are doing a watch on your inmates. It's the most important thing. It's the most banal, simple thing that you do. It's the thing that is the hardest thing to get to at times, and it can be extremely difficult. It can be extremely difficult for people to get to because it's routine, but it's the most important thing. It has to happen, and when you do it, you need to make sure that you're doing it correctly, and you can't get complacent. So when you get complacent, you end up on the news. So it's like I would tell people all the time when I was working shifts, especially working overtime and stuff. It's like, everybody stay safe and don't end up on YouTube. So please don't end up on YouTube. Do your job. And yeah, those guys in France ended up on YouTube on my channel. So they didn't do what they needed to do. Getting called out in multiple languages is rough. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me again for another Jake episode of Hard Time. And it's time once again for a Jake joke. Have I told you that once that I can cut a piece of wood in half by just looking at it? It's true. I saw it with my own eyes. I know. That's what Jake jokes and toilet paper have in common. They're both terrible. So keep that in mind. Thank you once again for sticking with me this week. Appreciate it. And we'll catch you again next week for another episode of Hard Time. And I will say, this is Jake saying, good night, Jake.